Good morning, everyone. Dual Coast fans, how's everybody doing on this? Well, I have a sunny morning. Russ, do you have a sunny morning over there on the West Coast?
It's very black. It's very black outside. It looks very foggy outside. It looks like my wall, actually.
There you go. That's Russ's morning.
5:34, man. It's 5:34 a.m., man. It's black. I mean, things are not going to change until that clock changes in a couple of 2 weeks, 3 weeks, something like that. It's early November. I know that. I don't know the exact date. But yeah, it's blackout. It's cool out. It's great. It'll be great for my walk in about an hour. How are you?
I'm good, man. I'm good.
Good to see you, Skoka.
You too. You too, Rogers.
Hey, you had something fun over the weekend.
I did. So
tell our listeners about it, man.
Yeah. So aside from Dual Coast Podcast, I also sit on the board for a charity. We actually have our guest entering the studio right now as we speak, right here. I'm going to put him on the stage, and here he is.
There he is.
How you doing, guys?
There he is.
What is it? Is it raining there?
It's raining. Well, lightly. I live in Vancouver, British Columbia. It rains a lot.
I
live in a rainforest, guys. Yeah, top of the.
Well, I don't know why you go to East Asia so much when you got the rainforest right there.
There you go.
A little warmer over there.
Slightly. Oh man, good to have you on, Ryan.
Ryan Phillips, everybody. Thank you so much for being with us.
Hey, we can't. We're going to have you on, but Dan's going to give us a quick little thing because we were talking about Slice of Charity that happened over the weekend. So we don't want to leave the guests hanging. So tell us real quick what Slice of Charity is, Dan.
Sure, yeah. So aside from Dual Coast Podcast, I sit on the board of a charity here on Long Island that's kind of local to this community. And over the weekend, we had a fundraiser that was an exotic car rally for those familiar with Long Island, Garden City Park, kind of on the North Shore of Long Island. And we did it to raise funds for a few different things. We always raise funds for veterans. We always raise funds for children's hospitals. So we gave costumes out to tons of kids for Halloween. And we did a big trunk event. So a lot of exotic car owners from around the area in the local region, they opened up their trunks and they put a bunch of candy inside these exotic cars. And all the kids got to come around and trick or treat throughout all the exotic cars. That was sponsored by Collision in the area, which is a local business in that area. And it was a ton of fun. We had a great turnout. We had DJ going. We had food trucks. Everybody was hanging out for the day from about 10 to 2.
Bumping. You're bumping.
We were bumping, man. We had a great time. A lot of exotic cars, so I was in my glory right there, and it was great.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Anthony's a great dude that puts that thing together.
Anthony's a great guy, yeah. My best friend right there. He's the creator of Slice of Charity, creator of a couple companies, serial entrepreneur. And, yeah, he does a great job with it. Amazing.
Awesome, man. Well, Ryan, are you in a safe place?
Ryan, how are we looking?
I didn't want to wake my family up, so I went for a little drive into a village near my home. Yeah, so anyway.
Yeah, when you messaged me earlier and you said, I got to grab a coffee, typically that means you're going to drive somewhere and grab a coffee because typically you don't say grab a coffee if you're going to make it or, you know what I mean, brew it. So I figured you were on the road.
Yes.
Yeah, cheers to Tim Hortons.
Tim Horton.
Oh,
shout out Tim Horton.
Have you had their donuts?
Have
you had Tim Horton donuts?
Come on.
That is a big why. That's a big why. Yes.
Right. They are good.
That's awesome, man. Well, I'm sorry to have to get you up so early, for not only this Tuesday, but next Tuesday, right?
Yes.
It's back to back, baby. It's back to back.
Yes.
No recording here. So bring Tim Horton with you next Tuesday morning as we do part 2 of this incredible podcast.
He's probably rolling in his grave.
All right, Tim Horton's son. Hey, Ryan, great to have you on Dual Coast this morning, man. You are a former professional athlete, a hockey player up in Canada. Like you said, you were born and raised in Vancouver, Canada. Hats off to Canada this morning for the Toronto Blue Jays making it to the World Series. I don't know if you went to sleep before they won, but it was mayhem in Canada last night.
Ooh.
It was. It was going crazy. It was Joe Carter all over again, 1993, man.
And I too. Yeah.
Unbelievable. Springer hitting that home run late in the game. Wow. You know pressure moments, right? So you get late in the game, they get the lead in the 7th. Then basically there's 6 outs left for the Mariners, right? And like things just get tight. And the first guy does what? He strikes out in the 8th inning for the Mariners. So now it gets tighter. And guess what the second guy does? He strikes out. So now it's, the collar is getting real tight. The arms are getting heavy. You know what it's like to perform as a professional athlete. So, unfortunately, the Mariners went down, but hail to the Blue Jays for making it back to the World Series in some 33 years or something like that. So great to them. It's going to be a great series, but we're excited, Ryan, to have you on. We're excited because you're doing great work in humanitarian. You're doing great work with mental health advocacy, being an advocate yourself, dealing with your own, personal struggles. But I because this is a two-part series, we're gonna focus today on the early years. We're gonna talk about your childhood. Let's talk about some of the things that you dealt with in life, some of the adverse things that you dealt with in your life, some of the struggles, and then we're gonna balance it out next week when you come back, and we're gonna talk about the victories. We're gonna talk about the wins. We're gonna talk about more of the humanitarian, the things that you're doing with mental health advocacy. So to tell us a little bit about Ryan Phillips today, man, we're excited to have you. Tell us about the early years in Vancouver.
Oh, I mean, it doesn't get more North Vancouver than Ryan Phillips, born at July 8th, 1975 at Lionsgate Hospital, triple cancer.
Lionsgate. That should say enough right there about your life.
Den. Yes, hockey was my dream, and lots of sports from an early age, and that just kind of was like the dominating dream from basically watching Hockey Night in Canada as a young kid. And my dad was he was the first Canadian to jump 6 feet in the high jump, so kind of born in genetics. Wow. And
yeah,
I basically played every sport, but right around age 13, the scouts started coming up watching, and the dream started to come into fruition as far as making the NHL, so to speak. That was like the whole dream. Left home at 16, and it wasn't the dream I really thought. A lot of initiations and bullying and all that kind of stuff kind of went with the dark side of hockey culture. I don't want to throw hockey culture under the bus too hard, but those were some pretty challenging days. Definitely saw a dark side to the game with sex, drugs, rock and roll back then. That's for sure.
What was it like at 13 being recruited? I mean, think about that. If I think back when I was 13, like, holy cow.
Yeah.
Like, you know nothing. You know absolutely nothing. And you're getting recruited as a hockey player.
I think it was just kind of expected. It was happening so fast. That's all I did was play sports and stick handle on my free time. And, the everything was just kind of, it happened naturally in a weird way. So,
wow.
Kind of back on it now is just a whole different life.
Sure.
Well, at that early age, you mentioned bullying, right? And we're not trying to throw hockey, under the bus, but let's just look at it from the bullying standpoint. I don't know about you, Dan. I was not bullied when I was a kid. So I know that bullying today is a huge struggle for a lot of kids, right? Yep. Can you dive a little deeper into bullying and what you experienced from that?
Well, I mean, I don't want to freak the audience out. There was a lot of, being put in the back of a traveling bus, butt naked with, I think it was 6 or 7 of us. You're not allowed to come out until you have your clothes back all on, and their clothes are all tied in knots. It's called the hot box. I remember for almost 2 hours, and guys are all sweating naked and having anxiety attacks, losing it and crying, and it's a young age, sexuality and all that kind of stuff. It's some pretty weird stuff going on. And, that's just one example. But that first year for me was every single day, tape on the blades, on your hockey blades, the clear tape, so you'd fall down going on the ice, Vaseline in the gloves, being forced to drink. It's just one thing after another, being, forced to have sex with a woman. And if you didn't, so you would get it really even worse. It was not a nice deal at all. And the coach participated in a lot of this. So, a lot of that stuff is coming to the surface these days, that obviously created a little bit of PTSD, to say the least, and really kind of set the precedence for not a great behavior for myself, like wanting to go back the next year and even play at all. It took away from the love of the game, for definitely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow. And you said at 16, you at 16 you left home. What happened?
Can you hear him, Ryan?
I can't hear you.
Can you hear me? No. How about now?
I can't hear you guys.
I
can hear you, Dan.
You can hear me?
Yeah.
I'm not sure why he can't hear us.
How about now, Ryan?
How about now? There, hold on. Well,
little tech challenge right now.
Hopefully Ryan
That's all right.
In a second. But yeah, that was unbelievable what's going on right there.
Yeah. Have you ever personally experienced bullying, right, Dan?
No, I really haven't. I'll be honest with you. I mean, I played sports my whole life, majority of baseball. I mean, we had our, joking around moments and things like that, but we never really not bullying to any degree like Ryan's explaining here. I'm going to put him back on the stage.
All right.
Us now?
Couldn't hear you.
Must have been the trees out there.
Probably.
That deep forest you're in. We were just talking. We were just kind of, going a little bit into bullying until you got back in. But what I was going towards was at age 16, leaving home. That was going to be my next question. Leaving home was that must have been a challenge at 16, going off. And where did you go?
Well, I excuse me, just turned 16. Next thing you know, new school. Everything all new. I was the youngest guy in a team, basically mostly 18, 19, 20-year-olds, because, I was pretty advanced talent-wise, but mentally, just to put up with that, it was like, wow, it was pretty wild. That first week away from home, I think I went to my first strip club, nightclub, and bonfire out in the bush. And and I didn't drink alcohol before that. I didn't smoke. I wasn't into drugs at all. I was a virgin too. And that first week was like, holy shit, you kidding me? And then, just to fit in, you think you got to like be like that, because you start getting, truly bullied. And that's when I think I took on the identity number one, which is the hockey player, of what I thought that should be, and, so it was terrifying, being in a new school. I grew up in the mountains where my school was 45-second walk away from my house. And, the hockey rink was like a 2-minute drive from my house. And, everything was really like homey, to say the least. Yeah. And next thing you know, you're in that. And, just walking, had to walk about 3 miles from my school to my hockey rink, which I was in Kelowna, BC, 5 hours away from my house. And I remember just like, going into the dressing room, I was terrified. I didn't even know what anxiety was at the time, but it was like serious panic attacks, like fear, just going into the dressing room, where that was like the place that I loved the most, now became the place that I hated the most. And I didn't want to, tell my family how I didn't want to let anybody down. My whole community, I was in the paper all the time. I was like this young star coming up that was going to be an NHL player. And, next thing you know, I'm like, just holding on for dear life. I wanted to come home so bad, but I didn't. And, it was definitely a lot of, it was just tough. Like, I look back on it now, it was 34 years ago. Yeah, 34 years ago. It's a long time, but not a long time. I'm still dealing with a lot of that, sometimes it comes up. I have nightmares and flashbacks all the time from those days. And, there's a lot of those players too that, because of that lifestyle, because of that culture, some serious addiction going on there with a lot of guys. Some made it to the NFL, some didn't. My life obviously took a different turn. Would it have been different if it was a different environment? Probably, but cause and effects, right? So
yeah,
Sure.
wow,
Sure. Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Ryan, during that journey, what would you say shifted internally in you that helped you kind of climb out of it? You had those kind of low points with the bullying and the adversity that you faced. What would you say you had to do mindset wise to kind of climb out of that or get yourself in the right mental state in order to keep going?
Well, I mean, my talent got me through, up till, I turned pro when I was 20, but, there was a lot of injuries for those 5 years of junior: concussions, broken shoulder in 3 places, collarbone broken in half, rib, like a lot of missing teeth, broken nose, broken hands. I don't think I truly came out of that mentally. I think probably till about maybe 35, 36 years old, where it was like, obviously I kind of segued into organized crime. Yeah, it was almost like hockey culture cultivated, smuggling marijuana. I just was like basically going against the grain of society after that, because I saw a whole new way of just a whole different way of how human beings could be. And, it's no secret that a lot of humanity puts athletes on pedestals. So there was a whole different set of rules for the hockey players. I'm a young celebrity in this, a fairly small town at that time. And, the microscope's on you, and it's like, you can get away with it. Everyone knows what you're doing, but you get away with it. And, it's pretty wild that I think it was, I got sober in 2005. I started going to AA meetings because I was really desperate just to get some kind of life back, what that happened. Oh, and it was almost like an acceptance of wow, I just really wanted to turn the page and better myself in some way. I thought was possible. So I think my mindset was basically just survival mode.
Gotcha.
Yeah. I wasn't a heavily recruited athlete in high school. I was a solid athlete, played 3 sports, and I really was trying to juggle, my decision with where I wanted to go. Did I want to go the football route, or did I want to go to the baseball route? And I had a couple of options to look at that, And I remember going from a small school of 200 to Cal Poly Pomona of 18,000 at 17. And for me, I didn't deal with anxiety, but there was definitely that feeling of whoa, this, we're going big time here. And, it's not professional, but I remember all of a sudden, being, dominant in high school and then going to where everybody is good. Right. And you're these catchers' arms that are just firing missiles to second base. It was an unbelievable experience. Right. And there was a lot of fear and anxiety, but, going into that, you mentioned something, right, in your life where you went from, this athlete to all of a sudden doors open to something that you struggled with for years. And that was, the smuggling aspect, right?
Well, I don't think I struggled with it. I think I was pretty good at it. I was able to put all my creative hockey and artwork and planning to getting an illegal plant over an imaginary line from A to B in a pretty creative way. So,
how were you introduced to that? How were you I don't want to know who, but how were you introduced? As you're playing professional sports when this happened, is that correct?
Yeah.
So
no, I was 20.
So
just fresh out of junior, but BC Bud is like the world famous, marijuana and in the world, and the Desire in the US, a lot of the, it's no secret that popular down there. Apparently, well, a lot of people like marijuana, and ours was the best at the time. And yeah, I met these these guys that had a lot of money and wild lifestyle at a bar one night with my brother. And I just fit into their lifestyle because I was used to the fast lane. And, I saw I went to an after party at one of these guys' penthouse suites. He was like 21 years old and driving a brand new M5 BMW. There's women all over the place. They're all wearing Versace and Rolex. Like, what's going on? What are these guys up to?
Yeah.
And I go into this room. There's like 250,000 cash on the bed. And it was just really attractive. Just like that. Wow. What's going on here? What's going like,
Sure.
Fun.
Sure. Yep.
And then it was almost like a love I never really felt before. Like they pulled me into this like crew, and I think not even 2 or 3 days later, I was driving. I think it was started off 20 pounds across the line in my Jeep with the top down. This is back before 9/11. You just they wouldn't even ask for your ID. They just asked where you're going, and 45 minutes away from the border. I live like right on the U.S. border, so pretty big border. And that was the beginning of it. I think I made $1,000 that first day, which wasn't a lot compared to what I made for them. And I was like, I gotta figure this whole thing out. And
let's do some more.
Yeah,
I was like, let's go again.
Yeah.
And then I think not even a month later, I had guys driving it across for me, and then I had because I played hockey in the U.S., I had all kinds of connections down there that would take it, and just the profit margin was ridiculous. And I mean, it was a $3 billion industry in our province in the late 90s into the early 2000s. That amount doubled. It was just so massive. Young millionaires running around just growing and smuggling pot.
wow.
Wow, the BC Bud, man.
Yeah.
Bud and
bringing in some dollars.
Yeah, pretty wild. Yeah,
That's crazy.
So young doing all that, you're just like, what the heck is going on here? It was like you lose your moral compass. So
Sure.
Do that with that, you can do it with anything in life. But and you see that whole organized crime. It wasn't like organized crime in the beginning. Of course, that element was involved a little bit, but as people started to really catch on, I was one of the early pioneers myself. So,
okay.
About 5 years in, you're like, holy shit. Then you see some as it really got bigger, it was more dangerous. And, I'm very blessed by the skin of my teeth, got out of it. And, here I am today with a few stories. I don't tell them all, that's for sure. But, in short, made it through. And yeah, pretty wild ride to say the least. You've seen the movie Blow. It's similar, but way wilder.
My goodness. Yeah. Wow. So you're still playing hockey this entire time while you're doing this?
Because I got nailed for conspiracy to import in 2000. So it was almost 5 years in. I had a bushwhack that I found with helicopter aerial maps about 2 hours outside of my city. And I had a hiking crew going through, and I was on the mountain with them that day. The feds got us, and did 500 plus days in a federal penitentiary down in Washington State. And that was fun.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh man.
I could see though the temptation when you're at such a young age and you see it put in front of you that, okay, how do I do this? How do I get into this lifestyle? Because you're young, you're vulnerable, you don't know what to do. You want that aspect of life. You see it in front of you. You kind of take advantage of that. I understand that.
Well, yeah, I think what it was the injuries and adversities.
Yeah.
Low self-esteem held me back from my full potential in hockey, which was playing in the National Hockey League, where I was destined. That's where I was supposed to be. I was that good. And next thing you know, you figure out a medium to accumulate mind-boggling amounts of currency in a very short time that was right, on the same level of guys playing in pro sports, most more money than that in most.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, well, screw that and screw society. I got a bit of a chip on my shoulder, and let's roll, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I look back on it. It's just like, who was that kid? That was just a kid that was seriously like traumatized and didn't know who the heck he was. It was quite sad, but at the same time, I think there's a part of at the end of the rainbow if you can turn your life around. So.
Absolutely.
Sure.
So was the smuggling of marijuana over the border, did that bring down your career as far as a hockey player, or injury, or what played into that to where you lost that goal of aspiring to be an NHL hockey player?
Well, it was my 20-year-old year. I was playing my last year of junior. I was like leading the league in goals, but drinking every night, like hammered every night, partying, like serious, like alcoholism. And I don't think I played one game not hungover, but yet I was leading the league in goals. And my coach was so pissed off at me. He was just like giving me chance after chance. I was like, I just didn't care at all. Like, here I am. I just didn't think it was just kind of like riding it out almost. I remember being 20 years old thinking like I'm this old man still playing, but I literally was like still so young. But my all over the map. And I halfway through that season, I turned professional, went to Wichita, Kansas, and now I'm playing with like grown men. And but it wasn't the NHL. So I was like, this is like, it's not the NHL. I could have still, I want to look back on it now. If I knew better, I could have like not stopped drinking and made it, but I just didn't care. And
that's because you were in Wichita.
Yeah, goodness. That's definitely, that was a wake up call. But I guess, I don't know. It's pretty wild to look back on. I went to prison at 20. I was just turned 24, and I got out. I wasn't allowed back in the States. I was banned forever, like never allowed back in the U.S. ever because of my charge. And so I was like, okay, well, I can't play hockey anymore. I could have gone over to Europe, but I'm making all this money now, and that lifestyle was like literally, it was just party, sex, drugs, and rock and roll. It was party.
Yeah,
it's like
every day.
My whole life was making money and women and drugs. Like that's just what it was. It was crazy. And when I got out of it in 2009, I was like completely out of that business. I like got out. I was done. And like that story is just wild how I got out, because most people don't. It does involve some pretty characters. I was a wild character. That's like, what I mean? It was, I turned into one of those guys. But when I got out, I had this new like zest for life, and I really wanted to play hockey again. So I hadn't been on the ice in almost 10 years. And in 6 months, I rented a whole sheet of ice for myself and all these NHL players that were buddies of mine around my area. And I trained for 6 months every day, worked out like a maniac. I wasn't drinking. I got into the best shape of my life at age 34. And I made a comeback. I went over to Slovakia, because I can go down to the States, to the top league in Europe, in Slovakia. And I made the team.
Wow.
I made the team. And when I made the team, I was like, I don't even want this anymore. This sucks. Like, freedom. Now I'm like, having to listen to this coach now, all these young guys, like, screw this. All my gear and all, I had like a dozen hockey sticks over there in Slovakia. I took a taxi cab from Slovakia to through into Vienna, which is like 5 hours away. And I went and I partied in Europe for 2 hours. Buddy of mine. But just to see that I could do it again, I guess that was a bit of closure. So
Oh, that's great.
Now, before I turned over a leaf into like really wanting to help people through my story.
Wow.
Well, Ryan, you sound like you've dealt with a lot of hardship from a young age through your teens into your 20s and everything, playing in hockey, and then getting into the, the whole business aspect of things that you just described. What lessons do you believe only hardship can teach you? Just the hardship like that you face. What lessons do you believe comes out of that?
I mean, I don't even look at it as a hardship. I just look at it as like every adversity, so to speak, brings seeds of an equal or greater benefit. That, it doesn't matter what you're involved in. I could get in a car accident today. That's a hardship. I could, lose my mom, whatever. I mean, it just is what it is. It just is. And, you either learn from the experience or most likely you'll repeat it over again, but until you learn the lesson and wake the heck up. Right. So right. I think, I used to really cling to the past. But when you're doing that, then you're living in a state of like fear and anxiety. So I think a lot of it just comes down to acceptance. And, you can reinvent yourself like right in the present moment all the time. So, where I stand today, it's just like, I'm more like, if like stuff that's uncomfortable comes up, it's just, let go, let God, let go, let God, let go, let a higher power, I don't want to sound all a recovery, whatever, but I'm not ashamed to say I do work a recovery program. I do. I'm clean. I'm not on anything. I don't take pills. I don't drink. And so I'm a clean vessel and I'm happy with that. So with that, I have tools in my toolbox, so to speak, mentally, physically, and spiritually to
That's
be able
amazing.
To whatever comes my way. I think I've got at it.
Yeah. So when you were, diving, deep into this, smuggling over the border and stuff like that, what really was the wake up call for you? Was it being in prison? Was it once you got out of prison, like you came awake? Did you meet somebody? Did you talk to somebody? What was that transition time of, diving deep into this business, this world of money and sex and all that stuff, to transitioning into a new way of life?
Prison obviously wasn't a wake up call because 2 days after I got out, I was right back at it. I was really bitter because I'm like, oh, I'm not allowed back in the States anymore. Well, I'm going to pepper their country full of dope. That's basically
Whoops.
Really upset. And I never hurt anybody physically in that realm. I was like, that was going on around me, but I was like, I don't know. I guess I was just like, I was like the nice smuggler, but it was like that challenge of like being able of like, it starts from a seed. I used to like get really like technical with the whole thing. It was just, but I think like that turning point, I'd say it was probably in about 2008. There was a big gang war going on in my province. It was nuts. It was like, people were dropping like flies. It was, full on mafia. People see the mafia movies down in the US or whatever. It was just like that here. It's just younger guys. It was all younger people with so much, money. It was nuts. And, the cocaine trade started like really, it was part of the marijuana trade. It wasn't with me, but, people would send the marijuana down and trade for kilos of cocaine to come back. So then once that energy came into it, it was like just the violence that was going on. And I was losing a lot of people. Like people were dying around me, and people, addiction and murders, and people were just like disappearing. I was like, what the, am I next? So seeing that, and like it's in the paper every day too, then my family's like, are you still doing this? And I was. Like we don't want to wake up and you're the guy on the front page. And I started thinking that. And I had a lot of threats on my life too. I had threats coming to me, and I was like, I didn't do that, and being accused of things you didn't do. And it's like, holy shit, like what makes me different? So, by the grace of God, some way, I think the turning point too was like, starting to go to 12-step meetings. And you can't go work an honest program when you're living a dishonest life. I'm walking into AA meetings. I got like 3 Blackberries on me and, diamonds, and, looking like this guy. And but it didn't take long before I was like, okay, I got to like make a change here. It's like, time's up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And sometimes you just get so habitually used to a certain way of living too.
Sure.
And like my life was like, money was nothing. And I was always like very giving with my money, but it just like, it's not okay to disrespect money. And I was, so, I definitely got my ass handed to me in that department too.
Mm. Your parents were aware of everything?
Yeah, I was gonna ask.
I mean, they didn't know the full scope, but
right.
they knew. Oh yeah, they
Yeah.
knew. How can you not? Like,
Yeah.
Sean, like, I got a brand new BMW or boat every few days, every nuts.
Yeah.
Yeah, they knew.
Yeah.
Ryan, what was that first pivot you made when you stopped and you got out and you said, I gotta turn this whole thing off? What's the first move that you made?
Well, I guess
as far as trying to make money or whatever.
I was really going full throttle into spirituality, and I think I was reading like at least 3 to 4 books a week, devouring books like The Power of Now, Think and Grow Rich, The Power of Positivity, all that kind of stuff. And so I really knew that I could transmute thoughts into its physical or monetary equivalent through the principles of thought vibration, so to speak. So I was like, I need to like just do good. And that's just kind of just what came into my conscious awareness. Is like, I just need to like God grant me some goodness to come in to be of service. And the whole the 12-step program is all about being of service. So I was used to that, but I was like, I think I was reading this book called Becoming Your Higher Self. And it just kept world service just kept coming across my mind. And so I was just like, I am of world service. Next thing you know, all these opportunities started coming into my experience. And it wasn't about like fame or like, I hate that name. It was never about like, it was just more about like, how can I impact? There's no social media back then, really. I wasn't into that. So, next thing I know, I'm just doing that kind of stuff, not care about like any fanfare or anything like that, but I just wanted to like give back. So like a lot of that money that I had, I was giving back to like charities and going on bike rides across countries for like human trafficking awareness and mental health and stuff like that. And I was just really drawn to helping people through the adversity. It made me feel better. That's what gave me joy. True joy that like I never got when I filled a safe full of cash.
Wow. Tell us about that bike ride. Tell us about that experience and what you learned through that.
Well, I mean, I remember it was 2012. I was skipping rope about 6 o'clock in the morning at a small town called Laos, which borders Cambodia, Vietnam, and Thailand. And I got a buzz. It was a girlfriend of mine in Los Angeles. She's an actress friend of mine. And she's like, oh yeah, I see you're doing this documentary across Southeast Asia to help kids, to show giving back. And I was like, yeah. And she's like, well, I'm doing a bike ride across Cambodia to raise awareness for human trafficking awareness eradication, for young girls. And I was like, oh wow, I didn't know anything really about that. And I was like, it took me like 30 seconds. She's like, she wanted to, she goes, would you be willing to film the positive aspects of giving back to that stuff? And I was like, okay. So 3 weeks later, I'm running across Cambodia with like 20 awesome people from around the world. And got introduced to that whole realm. And yeah, by the grace of God, at the very next day after doing that, I got a pardon back down to the States again for, I hate that word humanitarian but it was as a humanitarian, the pardon. But yeah, and I wrote that down. That was, I remember I read Think and Grow Rich. It was like, you can be, do, have whatever you want. So auto suggestion, I wrote down, I constructed it not to have money. I constructed it to have a pardon back down to the States. And I read the card every day. I am so grateful by this date that and literally it was like almost to the day that it happened.
Man.
All through just like being of service and helping people. But I definitely helped myself throughout the whole thing. I was
absolutely
help others, you help yourself. We're all connected at the end of the day, right? So
yeah, that's unbelievable. I feel like you went for something that you sought out, something that you felt joy in, gave you joy and fulfillment, and then you created success out of that. You saw what you could do, how it made you feel, and then you generate success from it.
Yeah, I mean, and like, what is success, right? Yeah, like success, like to me, success is the progressive realization of a worthy ideal, So, I felt like I was, success to me at that time really like went from, I thought for a minute there, success was money, or being like a great hockey player, which, and then I was like, well, I failed at that, but like I can do this and I'm really great. But true success to me is peace of mind, peace of mind, knowing that you can leave people with the impression of increase because you're here and you met this person or that person, their lives are a little bit better because you met them and, they give that back. Just the perpetual transmutation of energy. Right. So, yeah.
Interesting.
Wow. So you can't, you had to overcome, a lot. And, our focus here is on the health, mental and physical health part of it. Right.
Yeah.
And, you had a lot of broken bones, surgeries, dealing with shoulder issue, lack of movement, all that kind of stuff. Talk to us just a little bit about the health and wellness part of it, like, and what you had to overcome, because you were with a guy, I can't remember his name, but it was something garage. And you got grounded. Do you remember that? And you're barefoot, you're walking out on the grass, you're getting grounded, doing some stretching, to get mobility in your shoulder and your body and alignment, right? So can you dive a little bit into that? And I don't want to go too deep because next week we're going to kind of really progress into that.
Well, look, I'm very transparent about my health and wellness journey. I'm not, I'm doing the best I can in the present moment to be the best version of myself. But, in 2012, after I got my pardon, I was living in California. I was suffering from these crazy panic attacks, anxiety attacks. What is going on here? And I felt really off.
You're on.
And I was just so, I'm not drinking, but why am I feeling like this? I'm having to speak in front of people. I'm sweating all the time, having to excuse myself to go to the bathroom and like not doing so good. Yeah. And I went to a doctor in Malibu that was suggested by a friend of mine. And this lady, she gave me Xanax, which was benzodiazepines. And I know what a benzo was. I had no idea. I was just like, I was desperate to get rid of that feeling of anxiety because I was, I had a lot of people coming at me all the time at that point. I didn't realize that, I don't believe anybody's story is any bigger or better than anybody else, but people now wanted this story to do this and that. And I was just like, I was very overwhelmed. And I guess, be careful what you ask for because most likely. And anyways, I started taking these pills and I got rid of the anxiety. But it started really, I believe we have the power of thought. That's what we have control over. But my thoughts were not clear. It was these things started affecting me about a year in. And now I'm taking more than one. You're only supposed to be on these things for a week. Yeah. I didn't know that. This doctor told me they were good for me. And now I'm wondering why I can't remember things. It's like dumbed down. I'm getting walked over. I'm lending out like so much money. It was ridiculous. And things are not going so good. I went from like going really good to like dark. And I felt like almost like I was like living a lie because all this good stuff was like happened. And now I'm like dumbed down off these pills. Like I didn't want to be around people. It was really challenging. I've been off these things for 18 months and that's been the biggest challenge of my life is coming off benzos by far. 92 million benzo prescriptions in the US alone last year, 92 million. That's there's a huge benzo epidemic going on in the world. In the United North America is probably the worst. It's all bad, but 57% of the people that come off these things either end up in the psych ward or try to take their lives. And the other percent usually lose it all. Like they're that bad. There's 200 plus symptoms. It causes what is called BIND, benzodiazepine-induced neurological dysfunction. And, I'm very blessed, probably because of my work in mental health, that people are in my realm have been able to like help me come off this. Like I haven't craved a pill since I got off them 18 months ago, but it's left a neurological injury on top of all the concussions that I've had. So then I find out in 2023 when I'm tapering off these bloody things, it was all unresolved trauma, complex PTSD and concussions. That was what was going on. That's what was causing the anxiety. I just didn't know at the time. So I was misprescribed these pills. So and what these pills do is they rip apart your central nervous system, the CNS. So yeah, when I saw Gary from Human Garage there last summer, I was like 4 months off them at that time, but that did nothing to me. Nothing. I thought maybe it was. A lot of that was like, you know, they were trying to more or less tell me that things like to act it up a little bit, and I can't be fake. But you know, fascia maneuvers isn't going to get rid of benzodiazepine dysfunction, whatever. You know, like, and you know, I'm just about being fully honest with everything.
Sure.
Yeah.
There's my heart goes out to every single person that is coming off from benzos, SSRIs, like those things. Big pharma is disgusting. I'm not here to like attack big pharma by any means, but I mean, when you put a chemical into the physical body, spiritual being having a human experience, we come from an extension to the source. You put that into the physical body, you think you're going to be vibrating in a positive light to be manifesting your just dominating desire? No. And we're all manifesting generators, all of us, you know, and so like we all deserve good lives. But here in this 3D reality, we start taking pills and drinking, dumbing ourselves down. You think we're going to be manifesting good stuff into our life? Not really, because we're vibrating on a very not so nice frequency. So I look back now with like an amplified awareness to that. And then you realize why everything happened in your life, even the hockey stuff. When you're vibrating at a state of fear, going into a dressing room, you think things are going to go good? No. So you can always gauge what's going on in your environment by the way you're feeling, because everything's vibration. Right. So,
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, oftentimes, you know, we you know, finish up our podcast, you know, with kind of wrapping up this story in like a conclusion, right? We conclude it. But because we're going to have you back next week for part 2,
Right.
I think right there is a great stopping point, because I think we should pick up right where you left off with your last story about the benzo, because I want to dive deeper into that. But the most important thing is for people to know that we all go through adverse situations in our life. There are challenges, there are roadblocks, and we can overcome. We may need to get mental help, we may need to get physical help, whatever it is, but hearing that adversity that you have in your life and still trying to overcome and work through these situations is so positive to me that I believe, you know, this is to get, you know, people to come back and listen next week to hear more of your story, because what you have stated so far is an unbelievable story.
Yeah.
And the fact that you're still working to overcome, and 18 months, you know, was it 18 months, no alcohol, or,
No, I haven't drank 7 years.
7 years. Yeah.
The benzos, and it's not the craving it. The craving is done, that over and done with.
Yeah.
It's what those chemicals caused.
Yeah.
And you actually read up on them. And that's the thing is like in the last year, this education with this bind, I didn't know what bind was until like a year ago. I had no clue what that meant. Bind? What's bind?
Right.
Think about that. Benzodiazepine induced neurological dysfunction. Neurological dysfunction isn't really nice sounding. You know, you only have one brain. But you know, I have one of the best naturopaths, I would say, in Canada, that, you know, I see him every day, 5 days a week, hyperbaric chamber, red light therapy, you know, PMF, electromagnetic fields, that's working on the body, mind, soul, all that shit. But, you know, act as though it were, right? You know, like, fine. But it's tough right now to think, you know, how many people are suffering out there. And that's, you know, because I believe we're all connected. My heart bleeds for those people. I feel so bad. And I would do anything to feel better myself. I'm not there yet.
Yeah.
Thinking clear as a bell. I can think clear. I'm good. But like how I feel is just like, this is wrong. Now I see why people take their lives from this stuff. I see 100%. You know, oh, you look fine. I don't feel fine. Just getting when I get out of bed, it's so challenging. I feel like I got hit by a truck or run over by a semi. Yesterday, I was in bed for like 4 hours. I couldn't get out of bed. It was a mess.
Wow.
And that's due to what's going on with this. And sometimes it lasts up to 5 years. That's the facts with this.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
Patience
Well,
is
I know you told me yesterday you had a treatment yesterday and you're just like, I'm done. Like, I'm out of it. Like, you know, and that explains it.
Yeah.
very overstimulated.
Yeah. Ryan, you have quite a story, my friend. And, you know, people need to know that there are people that are out there like yourself, even though you're going through it, to help people through the situation, you know? And as bad as it may seem out there from a mental standpoint, there is help available, you know? And don't ever feel for people that are out there that are struggling, you're not alone.
Correct.
You're not alone. And you know, you're somebody that people could reach out to, right?
Reach out to me. I mean, that's one thing you can't go back in time, but I wish I just wasn't in the right state of mind. That's the thing, was when you're on that crap, it's sometimes hard to ask for help. I didn't ask for help. I just thought, I was like, what the hell's going on here? Okay. I did feel alone. And I was like, I didn't know what to do. Now, that like where I'm at right now, I have to ask for help in order to move forward. I have to. If I don't ask, you don't help. If you don't ask, you have to ask. You don't know what this is and the severity of issues, but they can't just guess it. If you haven't been through benzodiazepine withdrawal, you don't know what it's like. It's a different animal. It's worse. It's harder to come off than heroin.
Man, and it could be up to 5 years. That's amazing.
That's a long time. Yeah.
It's a long time. That's a long time. Well, I'm very grateful for you. I'm grateful for our friendship, and I'm so glad that Dana Grant introduced you and I together, and to have you on. And then we're going to pick up next week, right where we left off right here, and we're going to dive deep into this. And you know, people that are out there, ask. That is the word of the day. Ask for help. You know, and don't feel ever alone. You know, Ryan is still going through adversity in his body, in his mind, and but he's got a good thinker, because he and I have spoken, and Ryan is a brilliant guy, and so if he is the guy that you need to reach out to Ryan. Dan.
Yep.
Yeah.
Can always reach out to us too. Can always reach out to Dual Coast as well.
I will.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah, I'll get you back for getting me up so early. Assholes.
This was great, Ryan. Thank you so much for joining us. We're gonna have the rest of Ryan on next week, guys. Same time, same place. Check us out at Dual Coast Podcast. We'll see everybody next week.
Fellas, God bless.
Bring your Tim Horton.
Yes.